All right, here we go. Thursday night, DC and the Sunshine Man podcast is back. Dave Koken is here. We'll let Dave tweet things out. Busy night in sports, busy night locally, busy weekend coming up locally. So we'll get into some college football. And this is the crazy time of year for guys like Dave. Like I sprinkle some money here and there, and I like to bet some spots. But I was just saying to Dave before we came on, I'm like, my God, between the hockey and college football down the stretch, the NFL, um, and I know Dave likes college basketball as well. Now, college basketball, and it just seems like the beginning of the season here, Dave, for college basketball, the schedule is just aggressive.
It's insane.
Holy shit!
I don't know how the guys who also do NBA and soccer,
Oh man,
I don't know how they do it. I mean, I handicap differently, I suppose. So I don't do a lot of sports. But excuse me, it's
question.
busy. It's
Yeah.
busy. I mean,
And we're,
tomorrow's college basketball schedule is just nuts.
we're watching the end of Arizona State with a minute left at San Diego State. That's a 1 point game. Sun Devils lead. Wyoming's giving Washington all they can handle. That's 50-48 with like 9 minutes left on the Pac 12 network. What was the number on that one coming in?
I think Washington closed one. They're not very
Oh,
good.
I was going to say because Wyoming I think is okay, but they're not. They're not one of the better Mountain West Conference teams. Washington is
Well,
in for a long season.
yeah, I think I don't know how Hopkins is back for another year. I was kind of surprised that he came back this year. They were a massive flop last year, and they don't look much better so far this year. 52-51 Wyoming right now. Long way to go, though.
Yeah, I'm sure you could find someone who did this, but because assistants always will often get out from under the shadow of a head coach. But my God, Hopkins was 1,000% going to be the Syracuse coach.
Yeah.
But Boeheim won't stop coaching. So now then Hopkins goes out and does it on his own. And I mean,
And it looked like
they recruited well for a while, but they just don't win games.
it looked like a great hire when he got there. It's like,
Yep.
oh, this guy, with that Boeheim zone, and he's going to get good athletes. Should be a great mix. Just hasn't worked out. Boy, I mean, talk about an athletic program.
Yeah.
That's gone from the outhouse to the penthouse. I mean, the other way, excuse me, the penthouse to the outhouse. Washington football is in free fall right now. They're going after a new coach, and it's the wrong year to be going after a new coach because there's a ton of even better job openings, and the basketball program has become a non-entity. I mean,
Yep.
Washington State is actually better than Washington now.
Yeah. I mean, you would argue
that's impossible.
You could argue Oregon State football and basketball right now is better than Washington, right? So I don't know that as much of an argument.
I don't know about the basketball, but the football program is better. Football team's going bowling. Washington isn't.
Can't be much worse than Washington basketball, and Washington football is pretty bad. So, did you bet VGK? Did you bet the Wings?
No, I bet the St. Louis Blues tonight. I thought it was a really good spot. I didn't mind laying the price. They were embarrassed on Tuesday night, losing at home to Arizona, and the comments after the game were pretty revealing. And it's like this team's coming to play on Thursday, and that's what you kind of look for on a long schedule. If you can find spots where you know a team's going to really come out with their pants on fire. I have no problem. I'm more of a favorite player in the NHL. I know a lot of people cringe at that and say, "No, the value's with dogs." Sometimes the value's with favorites. If you can find a better team in a spot where they figure to perform well, go ahead and lay the price. And I do a lot of that in the NHL, and that was a pretty easy winner tonight. That's the only game I played, so I was happy with that. College basketball is kind of we'll see right now. I'm 1-2, and I have Wyoming.
What'd you play?
And
I'm sorry, you played Wyoming.
I lost UAB. Lost Ole Miss. Marquette, nice job. I thought this might be a tough spot for a Shaka Spots team, but they played a good game, and Mississippi did not play a particularly good game. And what's the game I won? Oh, Florida International. I won that.
What do you do early on here with the results from Marquette and Shaka?
Arrow up.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to be adopting his defensive philosophy pretty quickly. I think that's going to really work out for Marquette. Texas, let's call it straight. Texas has become kind of an overrated athletic program. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we're talking about what's happening at Washington here, but their fans expect them to win the national championship in every sport they play every year. A lot of pressure, and Shaka didn't fit very well there. He had a losing record in conference play during his career tenure at Texas, so that's not good. I think in a more, I'm not going to say it relaxed, because they're pretty intense about their basketball at Marquette. Great tradition and everything, going back to the Al McGuire days. But it's not the same as no, they're not, Adam. They're good, but they're not a top 20 team. Okay, but they are good.
Yeah.
But they're probably like the 7th best team in the Big East. The Big East is friggin' loaded this year. It's really good. It's better than most people thought. A lot of people thought it was going to be good. It's going to be better than that. Anyway, as far as Marquette goes, it's a better atmosphere for him. I think his players are going to do well, and I think Marquette they won't be a top 20 team this year, but the program's going to go up, and that whole conference. I mean, St. John's just missed at Indiana last night. Phew, are they athletic? They're going to be good. Xavier looked good tonight. I think they knocked off Ohio State. The conference is really strong. Poor DePaul. I think DePaul won tonight, but
they did win. They actually beat Rutgers. So I was just watching that up until about 10 minutes ago, and DePaul couldn't hit the freaking broadside of a barn. Rutgers isn't very good offensively early, and then DePaul hit 6 threes in a row.
Wow.
And they won nip and tuck 73-70. They got players,
well, that's the thing.
The guy that I like on DePaul is they added Brandon Johnson, who was I would argue the 3rd best player on Minnesota last year. He's a 6'6" dude, and he's kind of a do-it-all glue guy. And I know
New Mexico, 3rd school now too.
I know it is his 3rd school. I knew New Mexico wanted him, and I was like, if they get him, with House and with Mashburn Jr., then they're a top 5 team in the Mountain West. They didn't get him. So DePaul has him. So I know you said poor DePaul. I think actually DePaul is going to be enough of a pain in the ass that it's going to. You're right. That conference may actually suffer from not having a couple of teams at the top that roll out and only have 2 or 3 losses, because the bottom every game at the bottom is going to be pretty competitive.
Yeah, because DePaul might be the worst team in the conference, and it's not like they're going 0 and whatever in conference play. They're going to win some games, so it could turn into a Pac-12 scenario, like we see in football, where they start cannibalizing each other, because the games are going to be extremely competitive. And one thing about the Big East, there's no league in the country that's more intense. Those rivalries in that conference are sensational. It's still, it always has been. Now, part of this is bias because I grew up in Providence, which is a Big East country, but it's always been my favorite conference to watch because the fans are so engaged, and it's a lot of the schools, basketball is it. And most of the schools, that's it. It's basketball. They either don't play football, I don't care about football, and they live for college basketball season. The Big East tournament, I mean, obviously I haven't been in many, many years, but when I lived back east, that was one you had to go to. It's like, okay, let's get the tickets for the Madison Square Garden. We ain't missing this. And unlike out here, when I first moved out here, I guess it was the first Mountain West tournament I went to, I was shocked. It's like, wait a minute. Why aren't all the seats filled for every game? These fans are only showing up when their school plays. Big East tournament, there's no seats. Okay, if you don't want to go because your team's not playing, give the tickets to somebody because they're going to take them. And it's an awesome tournament.
So Mountain West today, Utah State took out Penn. San Jose lost to freaking Cal Baptist. Okay, they were getting
San Jose. I mean,
Yeah, they were getting 11 though, right? I think 11 and a half.
Yeah, they actually covered.
Reno loses to check that. Yeah, San Fran. Yeah, San Fran getting 8.5. They lost by 3.
Good performance though.
Yeah. Now SDSU is up by 1 on Arizona State with 8 seconds left. I'm not exactly sure what's happening.
And Washington has gone up 4, so still plenty of time left. But that game is not trending in the right direction for me.
I didn't even get to look at the schedule tomorrow, so it's crazy tomorrow.
There's a lot of games.
Do you remember Friday? Do you remember Friday slates like this ever? I don't.
No. Sometimes at holiday time, You get these tournaments, and we're in holiday time basically. But I mean, look, it's different now.
Yeah.
There's 358 Division I teams, and I mean, it is really tough to keep up with all of them. Thank goodness for Kenny White, because Kenny is he's the best power ratings guy ever, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, if you are, I'm not affiliated with Kenny. He's not with Wager Talk, so I'm not. This is a neutral comment. If you are going to bet college basketball and you're not subscribed to Kenny's power rating, you're nuts. Okay,
You're nuts.
You're just being dumb, because it's going to eliminate a lot of work that you're not as good at as he is. It's as simple as that.
I'm looking at tomorrow night at T-Mobile. Am I crazy? Does Arizona Wichita seem big? Wichita 9?
No, Arizona's the favorite.
Yeah, this is flipped on VI. Then I was like,
oh boy, I'd like to get down on that. Give me Arizona +9 against Wichita, please.
Someone double check that. Who's got overnights?
Who's
got overnights available to bet right now?
Arizona. I'm seeing Arizona 8.
You are okay. So the whole board is incorrect. I was like, what?
Wichita's not real good.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have stayed where they were. And of course, the Marshall thing really set them back.
Yeah,
but that's a program that that's the difficult thing for teams, well, like UNLV and Michigan and Wichita, is when you've tasted glory for a long time and were the really big fish in a small pond. And Wichita they were the whale in their conference. And now they're not as good, and they're in a tougher league. I don't know the Wichita. They might never get back to where they were. They're certainly not now.
They have money, but that could be a one coach program. It happens sometimes where one guy is just the king of the hill, and the program can never get back there again.
Well, and they ruled the MVC.
Yep.
But they wanted to, and I can't blame them for this. They wanted to go bigger time. I mean, financially, it was probably a smart move, but they're in a tougher pond now, and the Marshall thing was a disaster for him, because clearly I'm not supporting what he did and the way he treated his players, but the guy could flat out coach. Maybe he's a really good game coach. So,
yeah, Arizona 9.5 at William Hill, and I thought this would be about the number 13-14 UNLV, so it's 14 UNLV against Michigan. Would you lay the points in that case?
Not with the way UNLV's playing defense, but because they've been really good defensively in their first few games.
Yeah,
I know they haven't covered any spreads, but you can't argue with the defense. Now they're going to have to be at their best here defensively, and unfortunately for them, they catch Michigan off a loss. That's not great.
Yep.
So I'm not taking, but I'm not going to lay that many points. I think that might be a few too many. But I couldn't recommend it, because Michigan's probably not going to be arriving in a real good mood.
No. And UNLV is still a little bit shorthanded at the big spot, so they're going to have to find a way to neutralize Hunter Dickinson without getting,
how do you do that?
There are a few bigs in foul trouble.
I don't know how he's got a chance to be Player of the Year. He's going to be in the top 10. Let's put it that way. When the Wooden Award ballots go out, he'll be on that. He'll be on the ballot. He's 7 foot tall, and he operates out there like he's 6'5". I mean, he's extremely athletic.
Yeah, you're going to need to. They're going to have to double a little bit on him, and then take their chances on the kick out, that they don't get destroyed from 3-point range.
Adam, bet whoever you want. Okay, I might bet 3 games out of like 100 that are playing tomorrow. Bet who you want.
Come on, Dave. Give us 12 picks tomorrow.
Right. I haven't even done. I was in the middle of running my numbers.
Right.
When we started this, so I have no idea what I'm going to be betting tomorrow as of now.
Okay, well, let's get into some college football, because you worked on that at the beginning of the week. So let's talk about tomorrow night. First of all, are you on anything with Arizona, Washington State, Air Force, Nevada, San Diego State, UNLV?
Yes. So it's not a great scheduling spot for San Diego State because they're coming off a real big game and they've got Boise next week. But you can't overvalue scheduling. It's still a matchup thing for me, and I don't like this matchup for UNLV. Look, you can't run on San Diego State. They just don't let anybody run on them. And that puts an awful lot of responsibility on Friel. And while he's certainly made progress, and I think, he's a guy with potential, which I wasn't sure he had at the beginning, but he's come on, but he still makes mistakes. And if he's got to be the guy in command tomorrow on the field, I think that could be a problem. Now, the tough part about laying points at San Diego State is they run probably the safest offense in college football.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, they're not going to take chances. They're going to win with their defense.
Yeah.
And they believe their defense, and rightfully so. It really is a legit defense. I mean, that defense can play with any team in the country. I just don't know where the UNLV points are going to come from, and I would not be shocked if San Diego State scores on defense in this game. So I think San Diego State, I don't expect it to be a blowout, but I think San Diego State covers. They do enough to win and cover, and that sets up a really big game with Boise next week because Boise's getting better.
Yeah, I could very easily see San Diego State winning and it not looking like it's destruction, like 23-6.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah, I did bet San Diego State, so we'll see what happens. Didn't play Air Force Nevada because that's a game. If you're into in-game betting, watch early and see which team is implementing their game plan better. Nevada wants to throw it. Air Force can be thrown on. Air Force obviously wants to run it. Nevada's tough to run on, but this is a different type of offense. And Nevada's coming out of a tough loss. So I think you get a feel for that one early on. And if you want to do something, have at it. I generally am not a live game bettor, so I'll probably stay out of it. What was the other one?
Wazoo 15 over Arizona.
Well, I mean, you can't play Arizona.
Right.
They are horrific. But that's a lot of points. And Washington State has its big game coming up, which the Apple Cup's a lot bigger for them than it is for Washington.
And you also have, you also have Houston 9 against Memphis.
Yeah, hopefully Houston takes care of business and doesn't overlook this game with a bigger game coming up. That can happen. Memphis capable of hanging around.
Saturday, you think Cincy just finally kicks it into gear and puts up like a 4-touchdown win against SMU?
No, but it could be a 2-touchdown win, and that's enough to get you there. I don't think SMU is that good. I think they've overachieved. I think they kind of got exposed in the Houston game, which was not as close as the final score indicated. I think there's Cincinnati, then there's Houston, and then there's SMU. So maybe this is a spot where Cincinnati does a little better and maybe covers the spread. SMU is kind of a public dog this week, which I never like. But for Cincinnati now, the style points don't mean anything at this point. If they win out, now they're in. They got a lot of help last week. Oklahoma knocked it. They do this every year. Oklahoma knocked itself out. And now all Cincinnati has to do is win out, and they will get one of the 4 playoff spots. The team to watch out for that's climbing, it's Notre Dame. They should beat Georgia Tech. They should beat Stanford. They're playing a lot better than they did early in the season. If Notre Dame were to match up with Cincinnati right now, I think I'd take Notre Dame. The offensive line's really improved, and that was their one weak point going into the season was very questionable offensive line. It's gotten a lot better. You just look at the sacks they've allowed on a weekly basis, and basically they gave up all their sacks in the first 4 weeks and haven't given up basically any in the last several games. And Notre Dame's probably going to get some help because some of these teams above them are playing each other. So they've got a chance to get in. You could see Cincinnati and Notre Dame get in.
They're as long as they keep winning, they're tied at the hip. So that'll be interesting, to see if they if other teams keep winning, if they could find a way to get Notre Dame in and have them actually jump Cincinnati, even though Cincy took them out head to head. But as we've seen, the committee's kind of caught in this area of head-to-head counts, but then we also have to kind of respect what's happened since the early part of the season. I also think they need to respect what Vegas thinks to a certain extent. So,
well, if they do go by
so far, Oregon hasn't gotten the Vegas treatment from the CFP, but Vegas is not high at all. The books are not high at all on the Ducks.
No, but they're also not all that high in Cincinnati or Notre Dame. None of them are playoff teams, based on the Las Vegas, the bookmakers' power ratings, if you will. But I think that's going to be an annual thing with 4 teams. Is you're probably not going to get the 4 best power rated teams in, because the schedule does have something to do with it, and you do have to get rewarded if you win all your games. And Oklahoma is still favored over Cincinnati or Notre Dame if they were to meet tomorrow. But Oklahoma lost. That's the way it goes, guys. So sometimes power ratings don't tell the whole story. I mean, don't lose. If you're Oklahoma.
Would you, on a neutral right now, would you bet, say, Oklahoma's 3 against Notre Dame and Cincy? Would you bet Oklahoma?
I don't know, because I think Oklahoma's super talented, but I don't trust them.
Yep.
They have too many. Let's just put it this way, and I'm not knocking the guy, because I think he's done a good job. But Lincoln Riley was the name for like every single job that was coming up, including the NFL.
Yep.
You still hearing that buzz? Maybe I'm missing it, but I'm not hearing that. So that's the tough. I mean, it's a tough gig, because you're supposed to win every game when you're at Oklahoma. And when you've got that pressure on, sometimes it's one that comes along that knocks you down. And it happened to him last week against Baylor. By the way, speaking of, ironically enough, the coach who now is the name for every job out there is Arande. He is the guy right now. He is the main target. I know he's the main target for USC. I got that from somebody who's close to the program and said, we know who they want. Whether they can get him or not,
I was going to say,
he's the guy.
That flies in the face of what Colin Cowherd's talking about being able to carve out your niche at USC and have a superstar. He is a superstar now. Well, I'm talking about personality-wise. He's a football coach. He ain't a rock star. So I'm just saying, if that's what they're looking for, what I would look for is, if you win, people will show up. You don't need a rock star coach. Just win.
Yeah. Get the best guy out there. Yeah. And it's tough to argue against Arande with what he did as an assistant at LSU and what he's done. And he took over a program that was kind of struggling at Baylor. And they're good. Oh, they're real good.
What a year or so for him, because they didn't have a great year last year because of COVID. But he also, if you remember, I think his people, I mean, maybe they talked to UNLV and DRF for 5 minutes, but I actually think they used UNLV to up their deal at Baylor, because there was a rumor for about a day that Aranda was in the running for the UNLV job. And then he got the Baylor job, and he got it at like $2.6 million a year. And we're like, wait a second. I don't think he was really in the running for the UNLV job.
No.
$2.6 million a year.
No.
That's a little crazy.
But, you use schools as bargaining chips.
Yep.
Agents are smart.
And, can you think of someone? So what's going to happen here is there's going to be a bunch of openings, Dave. And if people are looking for bigger names, I think they're going to have to give second chance guys a chance, right? Or so like
Bob Stoops.
like to you. Well, no, I'm not even saying like a Stoops, like a Fuente or a Tom Herman. They're going to be out a couple more years, or the other one is Hugh Freeze is going to get back in the mix, right? Like, he's paid his penance for being freaking hypocritical dipshit, super Christian guy, and then whatever he was doing with strippers and hookers and all that.
But it's got to be the right,
the
school that can kind of tolerate his. He is a little over the top.
Okay,
but
so
I
mean, like,
I don't know. Cool? I don't know.
I'll tell you this in a heartbeat. If Luke Fickell leaves, then if I'm Cincinnati, I'm like, man, you know what? Hugh Freeze served his time. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to leave or not. I mean, he's getting named out there, but if Cincinnati makes the playoffs, he might stay.
Oh, you think?
They're moving up into a better conference. They're heading to the Big 12. You can you win the Big 12, you're in the mix. And it's not like Cincinnati's. It's not like it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Cincinnati's a good job.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that somebody might not come along and offer him a fortune that Cincinnati can't match, but Cincinnati's looking to play big boy football.
Yeah.
And they seem to be succeeding.
Well, I mean, to me, the thing is now with these rumors about Mel Tucker, like the whole game has changed. If we're now talking like $6, $7, $8 million could be the going rate for LSU and Washington.
Yeah.
I don't think Washington, but I mean Michigan State.
Oh.
Mel Tucker, $9.5 million a year is just like holy shit.
Well, you win a few games. You win a few games at a big time program, and
right,
they're going to reward you because football is a cash cow at these schools. Michigan State is probably very happy to pay him almost $10 million because he has made that cash register ring this season.
Yeah, and it does show you the hypocrisy of the whole amateur thing, and we don't have money for the kids, and the Big Ten is going to be handing out like $55 to $60 million a school. I mean, I would argue Saban's probably worth a minimum of $20 million a year.
It's probably worth more than that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he actually hasn't really gotten the money. He should drive a harder bargain these last couple of years and be like, yeah, you know what, I'll take an extension. I want 3 years and $75 million. Let's go.
But I think the only he's not going to go anywhere. He loves it there. So, and he's probably at the point in his life where it's like, give me a decent, don't insult me, and we'll be fine. And I can do my Aflac commercials and make a fortune for them doing whatever it is he does with that duck.
Yeah.
He's a terrible actor, by the way.
He's not good.
He's the worst coaching actor I've seen since Tark. Tark was horrendous.
I've watched.
I love Jerry, but he was the worst actor who ever lived. If you want to see some bad acting, watch Blue Chips.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And we used to bust his balls about it all the time. It's like, geez, can't believe they didn't nominate you for an Oscar, Tark.
All right. Well, speaking of Michigan State, is I like the hot play this week is Michigan State. That's way too many points. And Brad Powers is on today, and he's like, I don't know, man. I'm hearing this a lot. He's like, Ohio State may freaking boat race them, laying 19.
Yeah, they might. I mean, Ohio State is that much better than Michigan State, but they showed something in that Michigan game because they looked like they were gone in that game. See ya. And they battled back. Purdue got him, right? It was wrong spot, wrong time. I don't know. Michigan State has been better than we thought they would be all year long. And I don't like going against those teams, to be honest with you.
All right.
But I can't take them. I mean, Ohio State's they're a monster. Ohio State and Georgia are the two best teams in the country.
Okay. Maryland live at all against Michigan, plus 16.
They just make too many mistakes. I mean, Maryland last week actually could have been. They were in that game with Michigan State. They gave it away with just terrible penalties, and the QB's he makes mistakes. He's got talent, and he's going to get better, but he makes a lot of mistakes. And Maryland just takes a ton of penalties, and if they do that against Michigan, they're going to get knocked out of the game.
Mike Locksley is not really an X's and O's coach, a disciplined coach.
No. And they took some really bad penalties in that game. I had Maryland in the game last week, and I know I should have covered, but they just kept biting themselves on the ass and eventually didn't.
What do you think of Nebraska, Wisconsin? Nebraska have a chance to
Nebraska's winning every game. They haven't lost a game by double figures all year. But I don't like this spot for them because they've got Iowa next week, which is more of a rivalry game. They have no bowl chances. They can't go. And I don't know that they match up particularly well with Wisconsin because they can't run on the Badgers. And, Martinez he just makes too many mistakes. So and Wisconsin's getting hot. So Wisconsin might get him. I don't want to lay that many points because, again, Nebraska just doesn't get blown out. But if there's a spot where they're going to lose by doubles, it's probably here.
I would love to see Wake freaking whip the hell out of Clemson. They're getting 4. Can they do it?
And I don't know.
Wake,
I
Wake,
can't.
Wake, and
I thought
Clemson.
Wake.
You don't have a good read.
No, I haven't had a good read on Wake Forest for the last 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
when you're not can't figure out a team, it's like okay,
Stay
next.
away. Yep.
Yep.
All right, Oregon, Utah. Utah's 3.
Line says Utah's going to beat him, and they might. It really depends on whether Oregon can run the ball on Utah. If they're able to get the running game going, they'll probably win. But if they don't, Antonio Brown, that's not Antonio Brown's the receiver. Anthony Brown.
Anthony Brown. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You don't want him to have to win the game for you. He's a game manager.
Right.
I think Utah gets him, but I don't think it's a game I'm going to get involved with.
You have AB and his fake Vax card allegations on the mind. What about Notre Dame 17.5 against Georgia Tech?
I think Notre Dame's going to kill him.
Really?
Georgia Tech's getting worse by the week. They've got Georgia next week, which is their bowl game because they can't get to a real bowl game now. And it's not a style points thing. I think Notre Dame is just too good for them, and they're playing really good football right now. This is a lot better team than they were earlier in the year. Notre Dame was not a top 10 team early in the season. They are now. They're legitimately one of the 10 best teams in the country. And Georgia Tech had that great game against North Carolina. And since then, they've beaten Duke by 4 points, and Duke stinks. And they got outgained in that game. So I don't think it's a real good spot for Georgia Tech. And Notre Dame's not going to let up.
USC plus 3.5 against UCLA. What's happening in Wyoming?
Well, they're just missing so many free throws. It's a tie game with 28 seconds to go, but they're 13 for 23 from the line. Jesus Christ, make a fucking free throw.
Nightmare.
Doesn't that drive you nuts?
That's the worst.
It's a free throw. How can you not hit 7 out of 10?
Yep, and it's contagious. Once teams start missing, they just fall apart. It sucks. So I mentioned USC and UCLA.
Well, the Dart kid's playing for USC. It's his first start. I think I'd give the edge to UCLA, but that's one of those rivalry games that it's just they're really tough. I mean, USC's this is it for USC. They're not going anywhere, and they want to beat UCLA, and they might be able to do it. It's not like the Bruins are the most consistent outfit out there.
What else in college football did you look at? I got Iowa State and Oklahoma. We got Okie State, Texas Tech.
What else? Well, I think Florida State's in a very difficult spot. Great comeback win last week. They blew a big lead against Miami. Then they rally in the fourth quarter, get a field goal with about 4 minutes or so left, and then drive 80 yards and get a touchdown to win the game with a half minute left. So that's a real nice win. Then they got Florida next week. Boston College should have an edge. That's a trip up the East Coast. The weather's not going to be a real factor. It's not going to be that bad at Chestnut Hill on Saturday, but I think the scheduling clearly favors Boston College. I was surprised the line dropped in that game. I thought BC would be 3, maybe 4. So to me, there's some value at the Eagles.
All right. What do you think of that Iowa State-Oklahoma game? Oklahoma's now 3.5. There's 1-4.
Yeah, Iowa State's not playing as well as people thought they would. Oklahoma's off a dream crusher loss. They're not getting to the playoffs. Okay. They would now need a whole bunch of stuff to happen, and that's unlikely. So I don't know. It's the disappointment bowl. And to me, you're guessing at who's going to be more mentally prepared for the game.
NFL, a couple of plays. Were you on the Patriots? You just stay away completely? You play the Falcons?
I stayed away from it.
Yeah.
I think what I said to somebody was, I know the spot says Atlanta.
Yep.
But I've learned over the years, when Belichick gets on a roll, don't go against him. Just don't go against him. Find something else. So that was my philosophy in the game, and I didn't bet it. I thought Atlanta was +7 on the numbers in the scheduling situation. I thought Atlanta, they're the right side here, and I certainly can't knock anybody who took the Falcons in the game, but that ticket got torn up if you took it.
Yeah,
Patriots are rolling. I'm not I wouldn't be real comfortable if I'm Buffalo right now. I mean,
Yep.
it's the Patriot Express. We've seen it before, and we've seen it with rookie quarterbacks before. A guy named Brady was once a rookie. Watch out. That team's starting to believe in itself, and that's the one thing with Belichick is when he gets it going, whew, he is tough. I mean, we actually saw Mac Jones make a couple mistakes tonight in the second half. Otherwise, that might have been a complete wipeout.
Yeah.
And as it is, it was. Boy, their defense is legit.
Last week, did you recommend, I think it was you, right? Detroit against Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
And that was, but we didn't know that Roethlisberger was going to go
No,
down.
I'd
with
already
COVID.
taken the Lions at plus 8 or 9 or whatever it was.
All right. Do you do it again against Cleveland?
No.
No.
No, well, you're not.
Right.
I mean, they're a terrible team, but they were catching Pittsburgh in a real flat spot, whether Roethlisberger was out there or not. His scheduling advantage for Detroit was huge in that game. And that's why I took him, because it's going to take a lot to get me on the Lions. No, I don't want any part of them this week. And they blew it. Let's face it, they blew the game because they're too cheap to pay Prater. So they got this guy who kicks slightly better than I do. And that was one of the worst field goal attempts I've ever seen in overtime. It was like a 40-something yard field goal. You'd have thought they had a high school kid out there. I mean, it was short and to the right. In the NFL, how do you do that? I know it's Pittsburgh and it's windy, but that was embarrassing.
What do we do with Cam's return laying 3 against the football team?
I think it's being overrated a bit.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good last season, okay?
No.
And I know he did well last week. Yeah, he was in there for a couple of goal line situations. Washington's off a very nice win. Now, could they have a letdown after beating the Super Bowl champions? Possible. But I do think Washington's a better team at this point than Carolina. Problem is they lost their best defensive player. So that's not good.
Is it time to start playing against Philly? Right? Philly's game 2 against the Saints, or you think Philly's legit here? They're going to be on a roll.
I don't think they're going to be on a roll, but I think maybe they're not very consistent, but they're not as bad as people. I know I said this before the season started. I said I don't think this team's as awful as everybody's making them out to be. I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're horrible, and they're not. They're not horrible. They're kind of what I thought they would be, which is maybe a 6 or 7 win team. And those teams can bite. They can bite you.
Of course.
Okay, it's not like they're the Lions or something like that. They're capable enough to get wins. The Saints, I mean, the quarterback situation isn't real good right now. Taysom Hill has not indicated that he's a starting quarterback, and
Simeon
is not a starting quarterback. They're going to have to get it done with defense. And now the latest is that Kamara's probably not going to play. They got by with him without him last week and almost pulled it off. I'm glad they didn't go to overtime. I had the Saints plus the points, so I did not want overtime in that game. And they didn't get the 2-point conversion. It was like, okay, you lost by 2. Thank you. I'll take my ticket and leave. Peyton's a great coach, but he doesn't, he's not good. He doesn't have a lot of weapons on offense right now. So I think that's to me is why the line has gone where it's gone, and the Eagles are the favorite in the game now. By the way, Washington and Wyoming are in overtime, and Washington's up 4 right now. So hold on, Cowboys. Wyoming's up 4. I beg your pardon.
Okay. What's going on with the Minnesota Green Bay line? I'm seeing ones out there now, 1.5, pretty much across the board. Packers favored.
Well, I think we should now all be in the realization that Minnesota's pretty good. They've had some difficult losses. That's the thing here is, can you trust them in what looks like a close game? Because these are the types of games that they have not been able to close the show. But boy, last week, that's a really good win for them against the Chargers. By the way, is this always going to be the same thing? It doesn't matter who the coach is, evidently.
With the Chargers?
Oh, I mean, they can't win close games. It's like if it's a battle, go to the fourth quarter. It's like, well, Chargers are going to find a way to screw this up.
Yep.
And I looked, and Anthony Lynn wasn't on the sidelines last week for the Chargers. It was somebody else. And they found a way to lose a game that, quite honestly, they probably should have won. So, welcome to the Chargers. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs.
And I was talking about that on the air last week before the game, that you could get the Chargers. You get the Chargers no on the playoffs plus 310 before the Vikings game. And of
Not
course,
anymore.
I didn't bet it. Yeah, not anymore. Last couple of games.
All right.
Do you think the right team is favored with the Bengals won against Las Vegas here?
Yeah, I kind of do, because the Raiders are going to have to show me that they can bounce back. That was a really bad game last week. That it looked like the distractions finally set in. Maybe there's something there that I'm seeing that nobody else is. I don't know. But I thought last week was kind of what I thought they might be coming out of the Gruden situation and immediately following the Ruggs situation. It showed last week. Eventually, if there's enough distractions, it starts to have an impact. So they're going to have to find a way to battle through that right now. And, hey, I don't know that they can. I don't trust the Bengals. That's the problem. I mean, the Bengals, in what was their biggest game so far, just blew a tire completely against the Browns. That was an awful performance against Cleveland. You had the pick six right away on a drive where it looks like the Bengals are going to score to take the lead, 100-yard pick six, and they were never heard from again in that game. And that troubles me. But I don't know. I'm hoping the Raiders do well here. You know, I live in Las Vegas. I want the home team to do well. But I've got some doubts at this point. So I hope they prove me wrong. I'm not going to bet it because, again, it's an I don't know situation. But that was pretty bad last week. I mean,
it was awful.
The Chiefs, who have not really played, they had not really played a good game all year. I mean, the Chiefs just annihilated them. And I didn't come out of that saying, well, the Chiefs are back, because that's what everybody, the Chiefs are back. We'll see. Okay. They had a really good game against a team that looked like they had no idea what was going on in that game. I mean, the Kansas City receivers were completely open. I mean, It was awful. And all of a sudden, Raiders got issues at wide receiver. Deshaun Jackson isn't going to run past people anymore. At least I don't think he is.
Right. And you can't get Waller open if he's being covered by 2 and 3.
No, the Chiefs, they were smart. It's like, well, we don't think anybody else here can really burn us. So we're going to make sure and take Waller away as much as possible. And Waller is the best player on the team. Mm-hmm. He is the best football player on the Oakland Raiders. Anybody want to argue that point? So if you take the best player away, that's going to create a problem. So it's up to the offense to get creative here. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not an X's and O's guy, so I can't tell you how you do it, but they're going to have to come up with a better game plan than they had last week. Maybe they can. Not like the Bengals have an ironclad defense.
Right. So we lean Dallas plus 2.5 or just stay away in that game against Kansas City?
Well, I guess I want to watch and see if the Chiefs are back. You just don't. Was it a buy sign? Could be. If they string together 2 real good games in a row, then it's like, okay, look out, because they finally have gotten over the hangover. And I don't think there's any question they came into the season with a serious hangover because they got the living snot knocked out of them in that Super Bowl last year. It's one thing if you lose a Super Bowl tough and it's like, God damn it, we want to get back out there as quickly as possible and erase that memory. But they got killed. And I think they came to camp with some doubts and they haven't gotten over them. But last week might have helped them. So we'll see. Dallas looks legit. It's not like Atlanta's a great team. We saw that tonight. But they still came out of a bad game and beat the living crap out of Atlanta last week. They're good. So I think to me, it's a tough game to bet, but it's the game I really want to watch. That's going to be a fun game.
All right. Well, Dave, check out the rest of that game against Wyoming and Washington.
They're up
And
5 with a couple minutes to go in the overtime. So
go check it out. We covered a lot tonight, so I appreciate it. We'll get back at it next week. And
by the way,
actually, you know what?
Nice job, Golden Knights.
Yeah, check that. We'll talk Golden Knights here in a second. Check that. We won't be here on Thanksgiving because
no, we won't. No,
it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We got to finish up.
Well, we got to throw some props to Golden Knights' way.
Yeah.
Good bounce back tonight. They've played so well despite being as shorthanded with all these issues as any team in the league. So DeBoer's doing a terrific job. The players deserve a lot of credit for fighting through this. And I think if you're a VGK fan, you got to be pretty happy with the way things are going. What are they, 10-7 now? Something like that?
Yep.
Quite honestly, considering what they've gone through, that's better than I thought they would be. So way to go, Knights. That's big props to the Vegas Golden Knights. And they got some big games coming up. It's going to be fun to watch. They're a good product. They really are. Terrific product.
Turns out not every expansion team comes into the league and crushes the league, huh?
No, Seattle didn't have quite the advantages the Golden Knights had. And, well, let's face it, a couple of their picks, the Golden Knights went for Marc-Andre Fleury, and all he did was play well enough so that they probably will put a statue up someplace for him. Yeah. And if he wants to come back to Las Vegas after he's done and run for mayor, he will win in a landslide, okay?
Yes.
So Seattle drafts the guy who was in Colorado and in Columbus before that. Why am I all of a sudden Grubauer?
Yeah.
He's been awful. And it starts there. If your goaltending is bad, everything else is going to be bad. And he's arguably been the worst goalie in the league so far. So I think they'll get better. I don't think they're an awful hockey team, but right now they're not exactly a team you want to be plunking your money on. But look, it's okay. They are an expansion team, and what we got here was a miracle. I'm glad it was.
Glad we got it.
It was awesome. But the Kraken are going through some growing pains.
All right, Dave. We'll have a good holiday, and I'll talk to you right after the holidays. And everyone, we're back next. We'll try to be back next Wednesday. We'll have to announce a schedule. Might have to do a Tuesday show or something because with the holiday next week, it gets a little bit crazy. So, Dave, appreciate it. Everyone who watched tonight, appreciate it. Hope you win some bets, college basketball, college football,
win this one.
And the NFL.